Whether you're a life coach, therapist, biohacker, invested in wellness, or in the healthcare profession, if you have an intention to work in psychedelic spaces, you're in the right place then. If you're called, get involved. But first, get informed. Let's talk the 4 N's: intake, intention, in-space integration, leading to deeper transformations. Psychedelic Coach Podcast, Todd Cole. Walk you through the process, it's all possible. Leave space for the follow-through. Most importantly, integration is not optional.
Welcome to the Psychedelic Coach Podcast. My name is Todd Whitty. I'm so grateful to be back here. I'm just coming off the tail end of a trip to Tonga, which is a country that is a series of islands in the South Pacific, not too far from New Zealand, not too far from Samoa, not too close either, but not too far. And we went swimming with humpback whales and it was absolutely amazing. And I'll be talking about that in all of my social media stuff. But what I want to talk to you today about is, can psychedelics heal relationships? Can psychedelics heal relationships? The answer for me is a resounding yes. This is something that people come to me all the time with issues in their lives, and the foundation of why they want to change or shift or heal or move into a new space is because of the relationships they have in their lives. The relationships with other people, with spouses, with their children, with their parents, with the neighborhood, with the house that they live in, with the car that they drive, all of these relationships with external things. And primarily, the thing that people are overlooking is the relationship with themselves. So when a person asks me if psychedelics can heal a relationship, psychedelics can support you in being healed in your relationship with yourself. Remember, healing is a process of becoming whole. From the vantage point that we work at the Condor approach, bringing yourself into a space of wholeness is what healing is. So if we're fractured, if we're broken into different pieces and parts, we are not whole. If some part of us or some aspect of us is not working or not cohesive, we're not whole. And so these things can be healed. And when we're brought into healing, we're brought into wholeness. And psychedelics can support a person in bringing themselves into a space of wholeness. I've seen it time and time again with myself. I've seen it in Cole. I've seen it in the hundreds of people that we have worked with in psychedelic spaces. I've seen it in people that I have had the honor to be in a journey space or a ceremony space with. I've seen it time and time again. And the foundational place for me, all of my relationships started to change once my relationship with myself started to shift. So if you're having challenges in your life, understanding why your relationships can't come together, what's going on with you, how come you relate to these things in one way and you can't move away from that, there may be a habit that's been built around how you relate. We are creatures of habit, human beings, and our nervous systems develop mostly between when you're first conceived, like sperm and egg, sperm and egg. Monty Python fans out there. From when you're conceived until around the age of 7, that's when the brain is fully formed. And that's when the first rendition of our personality is really set in. And we do have an opportunity to change that, but this is the majority of our growth. So that space from 0 to 7, right? From conception to 7 is where we build the habits around what safety is, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to our parents, how we relate to our siblings, how we relate to our school teachers, the people in our neighborhood. These are the people in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. Oh, I'm not going to get into the whole song. I love that though. These things are really important. How we relate to other people, how we relate to our environment, how we relate to rules, how we relate to our traumatic circumstances. And this is one of the things that I see gets bypassed a bunch is the way we relate to traumatic circumstances is a relationship, right? I have a traumatic circumstance. Now, remember, a traumatic circumstance is not trauma. Trauma itself is our response to a situation that is dramatic, that can cause harm, death, injury, loss, deficit. All of those things are traumatic circumstances. And so we can form a habit, like a brain habit, like a neurological, physiological brain pattern around how we relate to things. And if we relate to certain people in a traumatic space, let's say somebody is assaulted by a little boy, right? A little male child is assaulted by an adult male, and they pattern in that males represent this dangerous space that when they speak to you in a certain way, there's going to be some damage coming in. And so there's a formulation around that in the nervous system. So every time the brain sees a male moving forward with a mustache like this person, a voice or a posture like that person, the person will respond in kind out of habit in the physical body. And that can cause issues with relationships as we grow as human beings. And so how we relate to other, like that little boy, right? How that little boy, and I'm making this up, right? This is an imaginary little boy. So that imaginary little boy now has this anchor as a habit to males that of a particular stature, a particular vocal tone, and all of these things. And it will affect how they have relationships with other males in general as a result of that. And so this is how these things can get in the way of how we relate. And when you get older and you want to start opening up and having different types of relationships, the old protective mechanisms that came about as a child are no longer valid. Or they may be valid to a point, but they don't have to run your life. And so when you can remove that dramatic circumstance, or you can move it out of the way, or you can re-see it, you can re-know it. Okay, you know what? That was functional for me then. And I want to get my nervous system to respond to people differently. So I'm going to work on repatterning my nervous system around men that I'm uncomfortable with now that I'm an adult. No. Now that I'm an adult, I'm going to repattern myself to actualize things differently. And this can be with anything in your life. It can be with food. It can be with exercise. It can be with other people. And psychedelics provide us with an environment called neuroplasticity, which is where we are very plastic, right? We're malleable, where we can change how our nerve cells and our brains wire together so that we can see things differently. Many people go for psychedelic experiences and they're like, I never thought of it that way before. And so now they can, because those old patterns that were so etched in, so ingrained, deeply ingrained in, there's now a new surface over it. So you can create a new etching. You can create a new pathway. You can create a new way of seeing things. And that's a very marvelous way of leaning all the way into the self. That is magic, my friends. And so when you ask the question, can psychedelics heal relationships? For me, absolutely. And they can absolutely support you in healing your relationships. And so when people experience psychedelics, most of the time, if people have sad states, depression, mood situations, the mood is elevated. And I know when my mood is elevated, it's easier for me to change my relationships. When my mood is wonky, it's hard for me to change relationships. It's hard for me to change anything. It's hard for me to change my clothes, right? And so if it's hard for me to do basic things, me crafting a relationship or changing a relationship is a different story. And so, this is a big deal, y'all. It's a big thing. It's a topic. And if you have any more questions on this, please feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram and let's go. Let me know what you want to hear about on the Psychedelic Coach podcast, and we're going to talk about it. And if you didn't catch it, Masterclass Mondays is the space to go. We have a whole masterclass on this topic right here on Can Psychedelics Heal Relationships? And I talk all about it, and there's a Q&A. And if you haven't been up on Masterclass Mondays, you can go to masterclassmondays.com. Okay, that is me and Cole, right? Masterclassmondays.com and sign up. Every Monday, it's free. And you can sign up every Monday. You can sign up before Monday every week and go to the masterclass for free, or you can sign up for a subscription to it. We have a subscription model where it's like $25 a month, and you get worksheets and you get all this access to all the back recordings, the previous recordings, if you want to listen to it. And you can also buy in for a whole year, and it's even cheaper. It's like $200 for the year if you sign up, and you get access to all these masterclasses. We're doing masterclasses every Monday. So you're getting 52 hours a year of masterclasses on psychedelic coaching, on coaching around life, on all of these things, these topics that we bring. A lot of the things that we teach at the Condor Approach, and there's also things that we don't teach at the Condor Approach. So if you haven't gone and checked it out, go check it out. masterclassmondays.com. We'll be talking about things on the podcast, and we'll be referring you to the masterclass so that you can get a deeper dive into it. And if you have any questions, we will answer the questions live during the Q&A part of the masterclass. So this is something that we're offering for, it doesn't cost you anything unless you want to sign up for the year, which I highly recommend so that you can get access to the previous recordings. You don't get access to the previous recordings unless you are part of the subscription space. So jump in. It's only $200. I mean, that's nothing for you to have this type of education, this type of access to me, Cole, and other Condor master coaches. It's not just me and Cole. There's going to be other master coaches from the Condor approach that have their own way of seeing things that's different than me and Cole. And I learn from the master coaches all the time. Just because they are my students doesn't mean I don't learn from them. I learn from them all the time. So go to masterclassmondays.com, sign up right now. And if you haven't had an opportunity already, hit the subscribe button so that you never miss another podcast. Hit the subscribe button, share this with someone you love, share it on social media, and tell everybody that you know that relationships are something that can be healed with psychedelics by utilizing psychedelics as a tool. So thank you. My name is Todd Whitty. I love you. I appreciate you. I am so enamored with you as a human being, no matter where you are, who you are, what language you speak, color of your skin, the clothes that you wear, who you like to love, who you love to love, and where you're at, what you eat. None of that stuff really matters. What matters is that you are amazing and I love you. So thank you. I will catch you on the flip side, Sourcey Poo. Be easy and be free. And don't forget,
integration is not optional.